Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Good morning.
So welcome to the 2002, or 2022, rather, Veterans Day Assembly, which we're dubbing Hometown Heroes. And, as you heard on the announcements, Veterans Day originates with the ending of World War I. On the 11th hour of the 11th day, in the 11th month, the most destructive war at that time in human history came to an end. Some phrases that Congress used to describe it, as it said, most destructive, sanguinary, for all of you who know that word, right? No, right? Sanguinary meaning excessive blood loss or bloodshed. Right? It was a war where 14 million people lost their lives, combat and civilian. Right? So Armistice Day, as it was called, was set aside to honor all those who had served and fought in World War I. Fast forward through the Great Depression, World War II, and Korea, and now former General Eisenhower is President of the United States, and the recognition that maybe we should recognize all veterans. And so we see the shift from Armistice Day to Veterans Day, a day that we can acknowledge, honor, and thank our veterans and our active duty personnel. As we look at transitioning here from topics, we have this quote from Abraham Lincoln. Any nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. So Abraham Lincoln, as we know, president during the Civil War, another terrible war in form of loss of life, acknowledging the fact that without looking back, without taking a look at those who have served us, that we lose sight of who we are and why we are here. And so with that being said, I am going to bring, actually I'm not, I got going way too quick here, I apologize. We need to do some things first, okay? So here's why we're all here, right? So with that being said, let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. You ready? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. And now please stand still. So it's just all part of my plan to get you some extra exercise this morning. You're welcome. Okay. The choir is going to sing the national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous
Okay, thank you, choir. They will be back at the end to close out our program today. As you heard, our theme today is Hometown Heroes. And it's hard to argue that there's a greater symbol of heroism than the Medal of Honor. In a moment, we're going to watch a video telling the story of the Medal of Honor. I just want to share a few things before that video. There have been a total of 3,534 medals awarded in the history of the United States, but almost half of those were awarded during the Civil War. So, since 1865, there have only been 2,000 Medal of Honors awarded, and there are only 65 living Medal of Honor recipients. One important thing for us to try and practice, if we ever get the chance to meet someone who is awarded the Medal of Honor, is that we should not use the phrase winner of the Medal of Honor. The living recipients do not view the Medal of Honor as something that they have won, like you might win a race. They view the medal as something that was bestowed upon them to carry as a symbol of the sacrifice of all who have served. We may, through force of habit, use the term winner, but out of respect for those who currently wear the medal, we should try and remember to use the term recipient. You want to go to the next slide? The Medal of Honor symbolizes 6 key values, and the stories of recipients center around one or more of these characteristics. Patriotism. Patriotism is offering devoted loyalty and support to your nation. It is something you feel in your heart and demonstrate in your actions. Patriotism has no political affiliation. It is far more than a display or proper flag etiquette. To practice patriotism, first, consider your country's freedoms and values, and then place them above your personal preferences. Citizenship. Citizenship means showing loyalty, compassion, involvement, and respect in your community, and assuming personal responsibility in your role as United States citizens. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the strength to face your fears. It takes courage to do the right thing when the wrong thing would be easier. It takes courage to embrace your fears and refuse to back down. It takes courage to stand alone for what you believe in. Integrity is being honest, keeping your word, and doing what is right even when no one is watching. Sacrifice is the act of putting the needs of others above your own. While many military service members display the ultimate act of sacrifice by laying down their lives for our country, we know that there are opportunities for selflessness in our everyday lives. Commitment is following through on your promises no matter what. This value is twofold. On one hand, it requires you to really think through what you are committing yourself to. And on the other hand, once you have given your word to show up or to take action, you take ownership and stay true to your word. In Toma, we're truly blessed to have 2 Medal of Honor hometown hero stories that you will hear about today and that we can be inspired by. Now, let's hear the story of the Medal of Honor.
This medal represents his own effort, sacrifice. My name's on the back of it, but it doesn't mean it belongs to me. I'm just a caretaker.
It didn't matter where you were from or who you were. We looked out for one another.
I felt this is what a soldier's supposed to do, and I still feel that.
But this medal's not mine. It belongs to those kids who never grew up to be grandfathers. I just hold it in trust.
The veteran broadcaster Paul Harvey is famous for saying there are two tangible symbols of sacrifice representing the ultimate offer of one's life for others. One of those symbols is the cross of Christ, and the other is the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's likely that when he first uttered those words, the Medal of Honor was more widely recognized than it is today. But to those who have heard the stories of brave American service people who, in the heat of combat, performed astonishing acts of selflessness to aid their embattled comrades, that symbol shines as brightly and significantly as any other in American life. Signed into law by President Lincoln in 1861, the medal was first intended for Navy personnel, but soon after a similar decoration was established for the Army. The medal was bestowed much more frequently in those days, but by the time an Air Force medal was established a century later, the existence of other military decorations made the Medal of Honor our nation's highest and rarest military honor. Fewer than 3,500 Americans have ever been chosen to wear this hallowed emblem, many of them posthumously. But despite its rarity, the ideals it symbolizes are alive in each and every person who serves this nation in uniform. Namely, the capacity for courage, selflessness, and sacrifice that are the hallmarks of service. There can be no doubt, as we pause to take stock of our lives as Americans, we can find profound inspiration in these stories and perhaps recognize some of those prized characteristics in our civilian lives as well.
I was working at a bowling alley. I ran the restaurant in the bowling alley, and we had a television, and there came a very short clip of the president putting the Medal of Honor on Roger Donald. And he just was standing so tall and so straight, and because of the military people in my family, I was very aware of what the Medal of Honor was. And I thought, wow, when I grow up, I'd like to be a soldier like him.
In World War II, when my older brothers were off, and my first prayer that I can remember uttering in seriousness was that I would someday have the privilege and be able to go and serve.
I had a brother who served in Korea. All four of my brothers-in-law were World War II guys. One was killed. So those were my heroes. Family.
I was liberated from the German camp by the 11th Armored Division. This was something you never forget. So I made a promise. Lord help me, if I ever go to America, I'm gonna become a G.I. Joe.
I grew up in a very small town and developed an appreciation of service to country. In a small town like that, every Flag Day, every 4th of July, Veterans Day, there was always a parade in town, and it was quite impressed with it as a child.
In 1952, I got a letter in the mail that says, "Greetings, you've been selected by your friends and neighbors," and I was being drafted. I went to get hell out of my two friends and checked my neighbors, and none of them had done that. So if they ever do start the drafting, and they don't change that letter. And that was a terrible way to find out that I was going into service.
I was drafted in 1950, and I was taught that when you got drafted, you had to go. It was your duty. I didn't even know where the heck career was.
We had been warned about the problem of Okinawa. The night before, we were told that the entire First Marine Division was expendable. That means that we're going to lose everybody.
I said, I don't know what Vietnam's like. I'm the only non-returnee in this group. But if you'll trust me, I'll bring you all home.
And there's all hell broke out. They started firing right from the left to right, behind us. The only way we could get out was find our way out.
I'm in the wars now, there, right now. All right, I said, Pete, for God's sake, move your gun out, and you're going to shoot the top of Bucky's head off. And he said, we can't shoot, they just shooting at us.
The lead tank pulled up right beside my gunner. And I'm only 25 yards from him. I stood up and looked him right in the face.
They were that close to us, and you're laying there, you're thinking, this is it. You face a woman and death right in the face.
All you could hear was guys moaning, calling for them, help me. Just stood something I can do.
Things get really, really rough. There's a whole lot of explosions going around you, bombs bursting in the air, and rifle, machine gun fire, all of that coming at you at one time. No one's exempt from fear.
Of course you were scared. You weren't scared to death. But your responsibility is to lead your men into very dangerous areas on occasion, and you have no choice but to do it.
I'm a 19-year-old medic. And then by that time, I don't know how many people get killed. But I took an oath to myself to help others, because that's where I was, a medic. And they took, obviously, an oath to come back and save me, because we were there to take care of each other.
What immediately came to mind was my brother. It was just instinct. It's what I'd been taught. You don't leave your brother. And we got him.
I made a decision to make a wheels-up landing, crash close enough to his airplane, and pull him out of the cockpit.
Somebody yelled grenade, and I looked down and fell on it.
I run up and I said, come on board, let's get the hell out of here.
I told the members of my squad to withdraw.
In 4 hours, I knocked out 7 of those things.
Picked up Captain Gormley in my arms and brought him back.
I felt something had to be done. I didn't even think about it, just did it.
Courage is not a lack of fear, which would be a lack of intelligence, but it's how you handle your fear.
It's kind of like the guy that runs into a burning building. He's not really thinking of all that's going to happen to him. He does it. He just does it because it's part of who he is. I knew that if I died doing what I was doing, what better way to die? I mean, what better way for a soldier to die than to be saving the lives of his fellow.
Next morning, we got everybody out, and I saw my first KIAs that were my men. And I remember thinking, I asked them to trust me, and I promised them I'd bring them home. Those 10 guys.
Watch football all season long, live and cable free.
Guys did what I did. But I also learned that from young officers, we have the opportunity, the burden and the privilege to look a young man in the eye and ask him to go do something. And they know what you're asking them to do, in all likelihood means they're not coming back. And these American soldiers look in the eye and they wink and say, "Got it, sir." Grab their weapon and off they go. And there's nothing in life that compares to that responsibility. Nothing.
Those of us that wear the Medal of Honor know that there are so many other soldiers, airmen, Marines that have done acts that just weren't recognized there because there were no witnesses left. So I'm very proud to be able to wear the Medal of Honor for all those that performed deeds far greater than I did, that no human being knows what they did.
These examples of ordinary people behaving in extraordinary fashion can be inspiring, and they should be inspiring. I spent 8 months in the Philadelphia Naval Hospital recovering my wounds, and that's where I saw heroism. Our heroes are our nurses, the volunteers who came and laid a hand on me and said it was going to be okay. The ones who went above and beyond and let you know that they love you.
I really believe that you'll never truly lead anybody until you learn to serve. And you'll never truly serve anybody until you learn that there's something more important than yourself.
Those who know about it do appreciate it, but I don't think it's important to appreciate the medal or the living recipients. I think it's important for individual American citizens to understand how important sacrifice writ large is. And I think given the challenges that we have endured and the challenges that we are going to endure, that Americans do appreciate how much you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit, if you don't care if there's any recognition, and if you don't care what you do as long as you do something positive. I think the American public does understand that.
I didn't go to war to kill people. I went to war because I love my daddy and want him to be proud of me. I went to war because I love my grandpas and I love my country. And when I got over there, the reason why we fought so hard was because we discovered we loved
we were all we had. It didn't matter where you were from or who you were, we looked out for one another. And that same thing can apply to the United States of America. And every citizen, take care of one another.
And the squad is 8 of us, and we all agreed that everybody would come back one way or the other. You learn the brotherhood when you learn to live together, and eat together, and sleep together. You learn to trust people. That's the big thing. We're all the same. We're American.
Alrighty, as Mr. Youngmeyer alluded to, we have 2 local community members that have received the Medal of Honor. The first I'm going to speak briefly about Mitchell Red Cloud Jr. Comes from Black River Falls. He is, or was, a member of the Ho-Chunk Nation. And then he served in World War II in the Pacific. He fought in some more notable battles in Guadalcanal, where he got malaria and then refused to be discharged. Then fought in Okinawa, one of the more fierce battles of World War II, where he was then injured. Coming home from World War II, he felt like he had more to commit to the country. So he rejoined, in this case the Army, and served in Korea. He received his medal posthumously, which means after death. When he was serving in Korea in an outpost, and he saw the Chinese forces approaching and began opening fire on them, took several shots himself, lifted himself back up, and continued to fight despite overwhelming odds, which gave the rest of his forces a chance to organize. So that is the brief story of Mitchell Red Cloud. The other, a much stronger Toma connection, is Kenneth Stump. Kenneth Stump served in Vietnam, and I'm going to let him tell his story, and then afterwards, one of your classmates is going to come up and speak, because Kenneth Stump was his grandpa. So here is Kenneth Stump's story.
You know, when you're young, and we all had dreams about being a big star. Mine was baseball. I loved playing baseball, and I played for my high school team, I played for the American Legion, and I played semi-pro. We had a semi-pro team in our city, and it was just getting around spring, and we were doing a draft. And I told my mom, if I get anything from anybody about a draft, wake me up. I was living at home, working in the mill, shift work. And I had just come off of the 11-7 shift and went to sleep right away. And my mom woke me up about 9 o'clock. She says, we got this thing. You've been drafted. And I said, you're kidding me. I said, by who? I said, the Army. I said, Mom, the Army don't play baseball.
Wisconsin native Ken Stumpf was drafted into the Army in September of 1965. 1 year later, he arrived in Vietnam. Early in 1967, the U.S. Command began search and destroy missions in order to break the communist stronghold in the area of Quang Ngai Province. On April 25th, Stumpf was taking part in one of these missions.
A helicopter, a gunner, had shot and killed a North Vietnamese, and they think they wounded the other one, and he crawled into a spider hole. And Captain Bill told me to take my squad and to try to find this dude. So we walked about 100 meters or so, and all of a sudden, Jesus, my God, the firing started. I went running back around through the ditch. I get coming around the corner where the vegetation was, and one of the guys ran smack into me. And he told me that 3 of the guys were hit real bad in the bunker complex. So we went, the floor was then went into the ditch. And we just fired away. But all the time, my thoughts were of my 3 guys. My thoughts. I had gone probably 2 or 3 times up over like the vegetation a little bit, and all of a sudden, wow. They're in the trees, they're in the vegetation, they're in spider holes. And I used to carry a sandbag full of hand grenades on my back, on my harness. You know, people thought it's crazy. You know, you get shot in the back, you'll blow up like crazy. And probably 2 hours, I had thrown every single one of my grenades, and I was down to 2 magazines. And I told the guys, I says, I'm going in. I'm going in and get my men. And I said, do what you can do. You know, but if they couldn't fire, because of the vegetation, I didn't know where they were at. But I was lucky again. I guessed right. And my mind and everything was like a blur to me. And I ran, and it was probably 15 or 20 meters from where I started running. And they were all laying, 3 guys, 2 of my new guys. Bush, Hernandez were my 2 new guys, and White was my old timer. I seen White and the other ones, but White was like hurt the most. So I slid under him, and if I learned anything in basic training was the fireman's carry. And so I got him on my back, and I got him and I ran. And the guys came, their hands out and pulled me into the trench. Then I went out, and Hernandez, I heard him screaming inside there for help. You know, and so I grabbed Hernandez. And basically, I grabbed him, I grabbed him by his shirt, and I just hauled butt with him back to the trench. And so, the last one, I was my big tall guy, and him, I think I probably half carried him, half dragged him, because he was so big. But once I got him back into the trench, now I got my guys. Now we got jets coming in, blast and blast and blast. And so I ran up to where we started. Now, a lot of the vegetation, palm trees and stuff was blown up. And I could start seeing bunkers. Now, I'm kind of mad. I'm mad because not only did I lose my 3 in the initial contact, I had lost the other 3 in the fighting. So they're gone. So I don't have a squad. I'm not answering to nobody. You know, I'm not going to be with a squad. I'm just going to do what I can do when I was mad. So I told Captain Bello, give me some grenades. And I'm I put them in my pocket. And when I started running through the jungle areas and you see the bunkers, and I just started throwing grenades into the front of the bunker. I threw a couple of grenades in the back, through the back. It was a hole in the back. But that one that I really wanted bad, I could see the guy was in a slit. And the one guy was laughing at me. He was actually laughing at me in that grin, like, you know, got caught in the cookie jar. He had that smile on his face. You know, and I said, I'm getting you. So I went and threw the hand grenade right through that slit. Then I dove on the other side of the bunker. Then I turned around. I said, oh, damn, there's the grenade. They threw it back out. And I was, oh, Jesus, no, I said, well, I'm never gonna hit. So I just laid down and said, oh, here it comes. And it was unbelievable. It didn't hit me at all. That grenade didn't even hit me. But I thought, oh, geez, but I had 2 grenades left. And I pulled the pins on the 2 grenades. I ran back across, I threw them both in the air and kept on running. And these 2 went off. Whatever happened, the rest of them all left or whatever, it actually ended there. I had gone through training at the 25th Division Training Center in Lagoo, Vietnam. And I remember the instructor saying, I mean, he had this Chi-Com, potato masher, whatever, grenade, was holding up. He said, if you jump on one of these to save your buddies, he says, you're going to get the CMH. And he said, casket with a metal handle. So I kind of stuck. I never thought about CMH as being Congressional Medal of Honor. I didn't even dawn. Casket with metal handle. I thought, gee whiz. And I was we had chow brought up to us at nighttime, and I was squad leader, so I was 8 last after everybody, including the other platoons. And I was going up the line, and I heard 2 guys. One guy said, hey, see that guy over there? He's going to get the CMA. And I turned around. I thought, what the hell are they talking about? And I said, geez, they're looking at me. I'm thinking, I went a casket with a metal handle before. And then it kind of dawned on me later, that day later, that I'd been recommended for Medal of Honor. There was 4 others that were going to be decorated that day. It was awesome. I've always said it. I didn't do anything above and beyond school. Call of duty. What I did was my duty. I had to do that. I mean, if I would have been out there and if I would have kept on walking point like it was, and I walked that 15 steps to the trench and then 5 more steps around the corner, it would have been me. And somebody would keep me down. I just know. That's just the way it worked. And so it was a responsibility, that I had to my men.
Okay, Mr. Kazimis asked me to come up here and talk about my grandpa and my years of experience with him. Knowing I was going to be coming up here giving this talk, I asked Mr. Fogarty for some public speaking advice so I wouldn't be so nervous. Well, it was probably good advice. It didn't really work the best. Okay. Grandpa Ken was a guy who loved to play cards, card tricks. He loved little magic tricks. He really enjoyed playing poker, which I also like to play in my spare time. He was the lucky guy when it came to poker. He would always beat me. Ken was very appreciative of everything that had happened to him. When he found out he'd been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, He considered himself to be very lucky. Lucky just to be recognized, lucky to be alive. To receive the Medal of Honor, 3 witnesses had to come forth and say that this man went above and beyond the call of duty. I'm lucky to have even met my grandpa. Most of the Medal of Honor recipients receive the award posthumously or after they've already passed. Grandpa very heavily believed that there were and are still heroic actions that went unnoticed due to lack of witnesses in Vietnam. Had always said that he was lucky to receive the Medal of Honor and that he was just doing what he thought was right. He told me that any other of the men in his squad would have done the same thing for him. So yeah, I think luck can be tied into this. My grandpa, so convinced that he was this lucky man, got all of the lucky symbols tattooed onto his shoulder, like horseshoes, the aces, and the 4-leaf clover. I think because Ken knew he was living on borrowed time, he wanted to give as much as he could. He always told me that giving was his gift, and that I should always give more than I get. I never really realized how important that was to him. One time we were out to eat at Peking, and the waiter was coming and giving us our bill, and my grandpa pulls out his wallet and he's like, I just got this wallet out of my dresser. I have no clue what's in it. Would you be willing to play a game for a tip? And the waiter agreed, and my grandpa was like, all right, so I'm gonna make a pile. All the bills that I pull out that have a 1 on them are yours, and all the bills that have not a 1 on them I get to keep. And so the waiter agreed to play this game, and so my grandpa opens up his wallet, pulls out a couple 1s, say, oh, you get those. Pulls out a couple 5s, he gets to keep them, a couple 20s, he gets to keep them, a 10, oh, he gets to keep that, a couple 50s, and then he pulls out a couple 100s. This was like, oh, well, would you look at that, it's your lucky day, you get to keep all of them. So he ended up taking home a pretty generous tip that night, and I just thought, that's so random, like, he just liked doing those little surprises to people. Everybody's got to make a living, he told me after, and I just, yeah. On this Veterans Day, I think we need to be thankful for the people that have fought and are fighting for our freedom. Remember to honor the warriors and not the war. Thank you.
As we bring this assembly to a close, I want to challenge all of you today to not only honor and thank our veterans by saying thank you, but by recognizing the sacrifice that they made. The stories that we heard today, you heard about selflessness and commitment to others. And so my challenge to you is to do the same. Can you commit a selfless act today for someone else? Can you honor their commitment? Can you honor their courage by taking courage yourself and standing up for someone who needs it, for doing something selfless for someone in need? Before the choir sings their last song here on your way out, I do want you to draw attention. Many of you wrote names on stars. We have those stars posted under the Distinguished Alumni sign. As you head out, as you go to lunch, as you leave for the day, stop and take a look. All of us, in some way, shape, or form, are connected to someone who has served and who or is currently serving. So thank you. Thank you for your integrity. And thank you for your maturity today. And we will close here with choir.
Beautiful for stations
Thank you very much.